Coach Noel Powers with InFactor Coaching, and today I want to talk about the steps you need to grow your own profitable brand. And a few years ago, I did 10,000 pages of research on the visionary founders of America's most profitable brands, and they had some things in common that you should know. Where in business do people tell you how to build a profitable brand? They don't talk about that. They tell you how to run a business, how to invent things, how to manage people. But today we want to talk about what are the key steps to building the most profitable brand in your industry. So there are three aspects, and on our brand power pyramid that you will be able to get that visual, there are there is your foundation for building your pyramid. And why did the Egyptians build the pyramids? This is the first important thing that we learned. It was to concentrate power, right? It had a wide base and this tip on the top. It was this big triangle, and all the energy that was down in the bottom would be sucked up into the top. And that is the same way with people who create very profitable brands. Is they concentrate the power and that energy up. So the first thing is they have a long-term vision. If you're going to lead your industry, you have to think 20 years out. What is the one impact you're going to make on your customer's life? And you have to be willing to do it no matter what. You have to ignore present circumstances and take the limited resources you have and take that vision and make sure you're building yourself toward it. So long-term vision, it is the common trait among brand leaders like Steve Jobs of Apple, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Sarah Blakely of Spanx, Harley and the Davidsons. They all had long-term vision that helped them create their industry years before anyone could even think about it. So we have long-term vision. And then from there, you have to think about the message that you want to share, and not going to a marketing agency and just paying for a slogan, but I mean something that comes from the core of you, something that helps you share your philosophy. A good example of this is Steve Jobs and Apple. He created Think Differently, which was not just a marketing message. It was a message from him. It came from the inside of his soul, because he knew that in order to build the Apple brand that he really intended, he had to share the philosophy behind who are you if you are an Apple customer? Who are you if you are part of the Apple core? Right, who are you if you work at Apple? What does this mean? Right, we always want to look at what is the human meaning behind what we're doing, because that is what attracts your ideal customers and ideal employees. So from there, you see a culture, right? And Apple has the most defined culture of in the whole corporate world. And we want to take an example here, because you can create a positive culture right now. You can create that incredible association that people have with you and your brand. So a couple different ways to develop your own culture is, of course, think what's the most important thing to you, what's the impact you're going to make. And then let's say you own a transportation company, and you could be the most luxurious, or you could be the cheapest, or you could be the most reliable. So let's say you are going to be the most reliable transportation system, right? You are going to create your whole niche about just being the most reliable transportation company. So you have right here, you've actually started to create a culture where if you tell people we are the most reliable, who are you going to attract? You're going to attract customers who depend on you for being reliable. And so everything you do and say should point towards being reliable. You should say, here are the three ways that we guarantee we're the most reliable. And then when people get in that ride and they take it, you give them a survey and make sure that they understand, in what ways could we be more reliable for you. So you really follow a continuum of reliability. And I say this, we have to go over these examples because most people no longer know no matter how long they're in business, they never create a clear culture. They never say to their ideal customer, I am for you, I am just for you. And they certainly don't say that to their employees. And you end up losing a lot of money and a lot of traction because you shuffle around. Could you imagine if you stood up and told someone, I have this transportation, it's going to get you to your doctor's appointment, and it's the cheapest, and it's the most luxurious, and it's the most reliable. You can only be good at one thing. So, very important. Your culture, you have to think about what is most important to you and your customer, and then deliver on it. You cannot you cannot promise them to be other things other than the one thing you promised in your culture. So very important. Just when you start out with your culture, what is the one most important thing that you are giving your customers? And then there's inviting workers, right? Inviting them to this culture, to this community where you drive this result that you are passionate about. We here at LMN Transportation, we provide the best experience for our customers by being the most reliable transportation company in our area, right? You pick your niche, you make it small enough that you can really make a difference so that you can focus your energy and your resources on it. So now you're inviting employees. So if you have the most reliable transportation company in the area, what kind of what do you put on your job ad, right? You want to say, we want to attract the most reliable employees. Again, right? Reliable. Reliability is going to be your number one criteria for these people. And getting people to really lead your company through reliability, these are people you want them to be role models. So you want to be very consistent. So brands are consistent, right? People, no matter whether you're driving through fast food or you're buying a computer, but the brand you love the most is extremely consistent. They make sure that they make a little promise and they keep it every time. And every time you go back, they're finding new ways to fulfill their promise more and more. So with your employees, you are recruiting reliable people. Now you want to create rewards, right? So inside your your business is your community. Your brand is dependent on how consistently you reward what's most important in your culture, which is reliability. And there are different ways you can do this. So of course, you can give people little bonuses and spiffs for being more reliable, and you can do that on a quarterly or yearly basis. But it isn't necessary, especially during a startup. Hey, a lot of America's favorite, happiest employees are working for startups, and they're not making any more money than the job they left behind. Why people love working for startups and their favorite brands is because of psychological rewards. So you can have a whole system of rewards. Maybe you just give an award for the most reliable person that quarter. Or maybe you have swag. So swag is really important. Let's say you have buttons. Now, I've worked with a lot of people in nonprofits, and these people were just as happy to get a button that that was coveted by their fellow employees, that really engaged them with the culture. So, right, how many people complain about a lack of engagement with their customers and employees. Having a defined culture is a great way to prevent that from ever happening, right? The first thing you should do when you look at a brand is look from the top down. Is, do you have that vision? Are you creating a clear, defined culture that really celebrates something that you are giving to them? People like psychological reward. They want to feel like they are contributing to a real community, that they're not just going to work to punch a time card. So engagement through culture. So we're talking about, we had paid benefits for results, and then we had psychological rewards for contributing to a culture. The last part I want to talk about is that the way you create culture drives innovation. So let's take Apple again for an example. That Steve Jobs created a team of innovative people. He literally hired 10 people at Apple to create products. And they actually were so good at doing this that they developed a new product every year with a new user interface that created a whole new industry. And they did that 5 years in a row. How did they do that? Right? He had his long-term vision. People got it. That think different message, it unified people. And then there was the culture. And the culture says that we are a culture of excellence. We only create excellence. You are an excellent person. There's 1,000 people making computers down the street, but you are a group of 50 people, right, making a dent in the universe. That's what he always told people, especially on the Mac. We remember that. But a clear vision and a well-defined culture contributes to innovation, because you, as an entrepreneur, your job is not to invent things per se. If you're an inventor, that's fine, but that's not where your power is. Your power as an entrepreneur is to say, we are going to make this positive change, we're making this impact, and you are welcome to contribute to this excellent culture. What is your contribution, right? We don't want to just tell people what to do in their job. We want to lead them to who they want to be in 20 years. Who do your employees want to be? And how satisfying is it for you to set up a way for them to contribute? Because half of being in a community is having a meaningful way to contribute. So when people show up to work, the better they can contribute to something they believe in, the more they will innovate. And we want that. Right now, we are going through a whole resorting of management and the whole structure of business. Okay, the Industrial Revolution is over. Okay, we all need to tell ourselves that every single day. The Industrial Revolution is over. Now we are in streamlined management, where every single employee has to come to work and ask themselves how they are going to create their own job. How are they going to invent their own job in the future? Because let's talk about this. Our structure, AI, artificial intelligence, all these things. We need to be better at using human resources of generating ideas and being sensitive to customers and thinking like we're on the front line. So having that vision and having a culture of innovation, and it can be as simple as you have a transportation company and asking every employee in your company what you believe is the best way to be more reliable for the customer. So this was just one example, but it is so important because, like I was saying, a lot of people, they go to work, they run a business, you learn these disciplines of economics and management. And if you're lucky, you're incorporating leadership and you're thinking about modern trends. But if you haven't clarified your long-term vision and developed a deep meaningful message and defined in a basic sense what your culture is, you have not separated yourself from the pack. Your brand is not your logo and it is not your slogan. It is the total customer experience that makes you indispensable to your customers. So your brand is not your business. Your brand is that vision. It's what brings the human meaning to what you do. Because if you don't invent the future in 20 years, your company may have no place in it. Well, hey, thank you for tuning into my live training. We are going to have a whole series on building the foundation of your profitable brand. It's going to be 3 free online trainings and, of course, 3 programs that you can get, and we will let you know about that in the next month. Stay tuned. And of course, if you have not joined the InFactor newsletter, we have a link below. Go ahead and join, and you are going to get our free PDF, 52 Ways to Make More Money with Your Brand.